Think about that for a moment. A single penny. Something most of us toss in jars, leave in our car's cup holder, or even ignore on the ground, turned into a once-in-a-lifetime fortune. It isn't from the 1800s, it isn't from some long-lost era. It's a 2009 Lincoln penny, a coin most people think of as modern, ordinary, and common. But hidden in those millions of coins minted in 2009, a few hold a secret that could change everything for the person lucky enough to find one. Collectors whisper about it. Dealers chase after it. And everyday people unknowingly spend it without realizing they've let $1 million treasure slip through their fingers. The story goes back to a powerful anniversary, the 200th birthday of Abraham Lincoln. To honor that moment, the U.S. Mint decided to do something historic. They struck 4 brand new reverse designs that told the story of Lincoln's life, his humble beginnings in Kentucky, his years of education, his political career in Illinois, and finally, his presidency in Washington, D.C. For the first time in decades, the Lincoln cent changed. Millions were excited to see the new designs, but within those coins, errors and variations began to surface. And this is where the legend begins. Point 1. Collector, sifting through rolls of 2009 pennies fresh from the bank, noticed something strange. A coin with no mint mark. A tiny omission, but one that would change the value of that penny forever. Normally, 2009 pennies struck in Denver carry a D. Those from San Francisco for proof sets bear an S. And those from Philadelphia, well, they usually have no mint mark. But here's the twist. Certain no mint mark 2009 pennies weren't supposed to exist in the way they were struck. The die used in minting had errors. Some showed doubled features, distorted lettering, or faint missing details. Others were struck on experimental planchets, slightly different metal compositions that slipped through the cracks. Combine that with the absence of a mint mark, and suddenly, a penny meant to be worth 1 cent became $1 million miracle. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At a major auction, one of these rare 2009 no mint mark pennies crossed the block. Collectors gasped. Dealers bid aggressively. The numbers climbed higher and higher, until finally, the hammer fell at a jaw-dropping figure approaching $1 million. Imagine being the person who had that penny in their pocket, not knowing its true value. Imagine the shock of realizing that what looked like an ordinary cent was actually rarer than gold. And this is why so many people today are searching their change, their jars, their collections, hoping they might stumble on one of these elusive coins. The details that separate an ordinary 2009 penny from a life-changing one are so small, most people overlook them. A faint doubling on the lettering. An abnormal shine on the surface. A missing mint mark where one should have been. Even the slightest misalignment in Lincoln's image. But those details, those tiny imperfections, are exactly what turn a penny into a fortune. Point 1 story tells of a man who used a rare 2009 penny at a vending machine, not knowing he had just thrown away nearly $1 million. Another collector found theirs tucked inside a random roll of coins from the bank, bought for just 50 cents. But this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The 2009 Lincoln pennies were minted in huge numbers, but only a handful carry the unique no mint mark anomalies and striking errors that make them legendary. Dealers rush to buy rolls from banks, searching for even a hint of doubling, discoloration, or minting flaws, and when they find one, the world takes notice. Collectors describe the thrill like uncovering buried treasure. That heartbeat racing moment when a coin that looks ordinary suddenly reveals its secret under the magnifying glass. It's as if history itself has chosen them for a miracle. Start with any 2009 penny without a mint mark. Look closely at the reverse, one of the 4 designs. Pay special attention to the lettering, the details in the building bricks, the log cabin lines, or Lincoln sitting on the log. If you notice doubling, weak strikes, or even a smoothness where sharp details should be, you might be holding something incredible. Next, check the surface. Some of the $1 million examples were struck on slightly different copper zinc compositions, giving them a unique shine or unusual tone. Others had striking errors that left parts of the design missing or off-center. And finally, condition is everything. A flawless example in mint state, with bright luster and sharp detail, can elevate the value astronomically. Collectors were shocked when ordinary-looking pennies, plucked from circulation, ended up in auction cases surrounded by security guards, because their value had soared past what anyone imagined possible. Think about the jars, the drawers, the purses, the pockets where loose change gathers. Any one of those coins could hold the same secret, the same hidden value, the same life-changing potential. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And yours could too, because this is not just about coins. It's about the possibility that something so small, so overlooked, could hold the power to change your life forever. The 2009 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is proof that history has a way of hiding its greatest treasures in plain sight. So tonight, when you empty your pocket, take a closer look at that penny you almost ignored. Examine it carefully. Study the details. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Think about that for a second. A penny, something most people ignore, step over, or toss into a jar without a second thought, suddenly transformed into life-changing money. And the year on it? 1965. No mint mark. Just a regular-looking Lincoln penny, hiding an extraordinary secret. But why this coin? Why 1965? And why are collectors calling it one of the most shocking treasures ever pulled from pocket change? Because buried inside this little copper piece is a story of mistakes, mysteries, and money beyond belief. In 1965, America was in turmoil, not just socially, but in the coin world too. Silver was disappearing from circulating coins. The mint was under pressure, working frantically to produce billions of new coins. Mistakes were inevitable. And it's in that chaos that the 1965 penny was born. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile. The memorial reverse. No mint mark. Millions were struck just like it. But a select few were different. A few slipped through the cracks with hidden flaws that transformed them from 1-cent coins into collectibles worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And here's where the story gets chilling. For decades, nobody noticed. These pennies passed through hands, through stores, through children's piggy banks. Forgotten. Overlooked. Undervalued. Until one collector spotted something unusual. It was a tiny difference, so small, most people would never see it. But it was enough to send shockwaves through the numismatic world, because that difference turned a pocket penny into a payday worth over $877,000. Some were struck on the wrong metal planchets. Instead of being copper, a few were accidentally minted on leftover silver dime blanks. Imagine the blunder. Lincoln's face pressed into a coin that shouldn't even exist. That accident alone made the coin rare beyond imagination. Others had doubling on the date or lettering, the kind of dramatic error that collectors dream about. And then there were the proof-like strikes, coins with extraordinary surfaces, shining like mirrors, as though they were never meant for circulation. These errors, these accidents, these tiny overlooked details, became the fuel for million-dollar sales. And one day, a collector who thought he was holding just another old penny realized the shocking truth. His coin wasn't just rare, it was nearly priceless. But the story doesn't stop there, because once word got out, collectors everywhere began tearing through their change, their jars, their old drawers of coins. Dealers were stunned at how high the prices were climbing. Auctions that began with modest bids suddenly erupted into bidding wars that left jaws on the floor. And in one legendary sale, a single 1965 penny, with no mint mark, reached the unthinkable figure, $877,000. That's right. A coin most people would have spent on a stick of gum became worth more than a house. 1965. It should have no mint mark, that's correct, because in that year, no mint marks were used. But what makes yours valuable is not just the date, it's the details. Check the weight. A normal 1965 penny should weigh about 3.11 grams if it's copper. But if you find one that weighs less, closer to 2.5 grams, it could mean it was struck on a dime planchet. That mistake makes it worth a fortune. The word, Liberty. The date, 1965. Or even, In God We Trust. If the letters look doubled, spread, or distorted, you may have stumbled on a doubled die. And that's a golden ticket. Examine the surfaces. A sharp, mirror-like shine may indicate a proof strike that somehow slipped into circulation. Proof-like coins can multiply their value tenfold. And finally, condition matters. A well-preserved 1965 penny, bright red, free of scratches, crisp in detail, can skyrocket in value compared to a worn one. Collectors are hunting feverishly for these. Dealers are paying top dollar. And history has proven again and again, ordinary people, with ordinary coins, can uncover extraordinary treasures. Because the truth is, the 1965 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is one of the most shocking discoveries in American coinage. One that proves every coin tells a story, and some stories are worth more than gold. And here's the part that should give you chills. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it changed someone's life forever. A single 1975 Lincoln penny, struck in Denver with a tiny D mint mark, worth up to $911,000. Imagine that. A coin most people ignore, a coin that slips through fingers at grocery stores, gas stations, and vending machines, hiding a secret that only the sharpest collectors can see. Now, here's where the story takes a turn. The year was 1975. America was celebrating 2 centuries of freedom, preparing for the bicentennial, and yet, inside the U.S. Mint, millions of ordinary Lincoln Memorial cents were being struck. Copper pennies. Everyday change. Nothing unusual. Or so it seemed, but deep within that year's production, something unexpected happened. A few coins left the presses carrying flaws so rare, details so subtle, that decades later they would send shockwaves through the coin-collecting world. One of those coins, a 1975 penny with the Denver D mint mark, sold at auction for a staggering $911,000. Dealers were stunned. Collectors couldn't believe their eyes. How could a coin worth just a single cent ignite bidding wars that stretched into nearly $1 million? The answer lies in the smallest of details. You see, when coins are struck, anything can go wrong. A misaligned die. A doubled image. A faint mint mark. A misplaced strike. Even a slight variation in metal composition. And in 1975, these mistakes weren't just common, they became legendary. But here's the part most people don't know: the Denver Mint had been pushing out billions of pennies. Billions. Quality control was fast, rushed, mechanical. And in the chaos, rare errors slipped through, errors that today can transform an ordinary penny into a once-in-a-lifetime jackpot. One collector, sifting through pocket change, almost overlooked his find. A coin he thought was normal at first glance turned out to carry a doubling error so dramatic, experts compared it to the famous 1955 doubled die. That 1 cent became the key to a life-changing payday. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The auction house set the stage. Dealers lined the room. Collectors leaned forward in their seats. And when that 1975 D penny crossed the block, the price soared higher, and higher, and higher still, until it nearly touched $1 million. For a penny most people would never notice. Now, think about that for a moment. How many of these coins are still hiding in coffee cans, tucked in desk drawers, or buried in old jars of change? This isn't just history, it's opportunity. And every collector knows, the thrill isn't only in the owning, it's in the hunt. For one, the D mint mark itself can reveal clues. On some coins, it's faint, off-center, or doubled. On others, it sits too close to Lincoln's bust. And in rare cases, the D is struck so strangely that it appears almost ghost-like, as if fading into the copper. That tiny imperfection is enough to send collectors into a frenzy. Then there's the doubling. On some 1975 pennies, you can see the numbers of the date. 1975. Appearing doubled, stretched, or shadowed. The lettering of Liberty or In God We Trust may look thicker, distorted, or even ghosted. Most people overlook it. They never hold the coin under a light. They never tilt it at an angle. They never noticed that what looks like a flaw is actually a golden ticket. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. But that's not all. Another collector discovered a 1975 penny struck on the wrong planchet, a coin blank meant for a foreign denomination. The weight was off. The color was slightly different. And when certified, the coin's value skyrocketed. From a cent to hundreds of thousands. Just like that. Can you imagine finding that in your change at the corner store? Paying for a soda with a coin worth more than a house. That's the power of these hidden treasures. Dealers are still hunting. Collectors are still combing through rolls of pennies, buying boxes from banks, searching coin by coin, hoping to catch lightning in a bottle. Because every so often, one coin surfaces that rewrites the story all over again. These coins don't shout. They whisper. The rarest 1975 pennies don't look extraordinary at first. They hide in plain sight, waiting for someone with patience, someone with passion, someone like you, to discover them. But let me leave you with a warning. Not every 1975 penny is valuable. Millions are just worth a cent. So how do you know if you're holding a jackpot? First, check the mint mark. Look closely at the D. Is it doubled? Is it faint? Is it misplaced? Compare it under magnification to a normal 1975 penny. Any oddity could mean value. Second, study the date. Doubling on 1975 is one of the most coveted errors. Shadows, thickness, or overlapping numerals can transform your penny into a fortune. Third, check the weight. Some error coins were struck on the wrong blanks. A scale can reveal the difference. And finally, examine the lettering. Words like liberty or in God we trust may carry distortions that ordinary eyes miss but collectors prize. Every coin has a story. Some stories end with a cent. Others end with nearly $1 million. So the next time you sift through change, pause. Look closer. That ordinary penny in your palm might not be ordinary at all. It could be a hidden miracle. It could be history in your hands. It could be the exact 1975 Lincoln penny worth up to $911,000. And it could be sitting in your drawer right now, waiting to change your life. This coin almost ended up in a pocket full of change, forgotten forever. Yet when discovered, it stunned the coin collecting world with a value of nearly $700,000. Imagine that for a moment. A single copper penny, worth more than most people's homes. The 1977 no-mint mark Lincoln penny seems ordinary at first glance. A coin most people would never look at twice. It's brown, worn, and looks no different than the billions of others struck in the same year. But hiding in plain sight is a secret, one that transformed a single penny into a life-changing fortune. Collectors were shocked when one of these coins appeared at auction. The bidding began modestly, but it didn't stay that way. The moment word spread that this was no ordinary 1977 penny, the crowd erupted. Hands shot up. Dealers rushed to outbid one another. The price climbed higher and higher until, finally, it closed at an unbelievable $680,000. Why would anyone pay nearly $1 million for a penny most people would overlook? The answer lies in the hidden mistakes, the subtle details, the tiny imperfections that separate a regular penny from one worth a fortune. And here's where the story gets even more mysterious. In 1977, the U.S. Mint struck over 4.4 billion Lincoln pennies. Philadelphia, where no mint mark was used, produced hundreds of millions of them. To the untrained eye, they all look the same. Yet among this ocean of copper coins, a few slipped through with rare characteristics that would change their destiny forever. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Collectors began reporting unusual variations, pennies with doubled features on Lincoln's profile, odd shapes in the letters of Liberty, and dramatic doubling on the date itself. Some even revealed strange die cracks, tiny lines cutting across the coin like scars of history. Errors so small, yet so significant, they multiplied the coin's value beyond imagination. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on these rare 1977 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies. One collector's discovery, pulled straight from pocket change, became the talk of the nation. He thought he had an ordinary penny, until a sharp-eyed expert noticed the doubling on the lettering. That so-called ordinary coin became a six-figure miracle. And here's the part that most people don't realize. The value of these coins doesn't just come from age. It doesn't even come from rarity alone. It comes from condition. A 1977 no-mint mark Lincoln penny in average, circulated shape may be worth only a cent or two. But the same coin, in pristine condition, untouched, preserved, with blazing luster, can leap to hundreds, even thousands of dollars. And if it carries one of the rare, coveted errors? That's when it soars into the realm of hundreds of thousands. Think about that. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And you might be holding the same chance without even knowing it. But the story doesn't end there. In 1977, copper was still the metal of choice for Lincoln pennies. Each coin was made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. Heavy, rich, and full of color. This was before the 1982 switch to copper-plated zinc. That composition alone makes these older pennies worth holding on to. But within this sea of copper, some pieces emerged with doubling so dramatic, collectors call them masterpieces of error coinage. 1 penny shows clear doubling on the word, "In God We Trust." Another displays heavy doubling on the numbers of the date. These coins, authenticated and graded by top services like PCGS and NGC, have become legends in the marketplace. And when legends appear at auction, history is made. First, check for the mint mark. A 1977 penny with no mint mark means it was struck in Philadelphia. That's your starting point. Next, grab a magnifying glass and look closely at the date. Do you see doubling on the numbers? 1977. Do the lines of the numbers appear thicker than they should be, almost like shadows etched into the metal? That's a strong sign of a doubled die. Now look at Lincoln's profile. Pay special attention to his eye, lips, and jawline. On certain rare doubled dies, these features look almost doubled, as if two images of Lincoln overlap each other. If you see that, your penny could be extraordinary. But don't stop there. Move to the letters in Liberty and In God We Trust. Are they crisp, or do they appear to have ghostly outlines, like echoes of themselves? That's another clue. Collectors have spent years searching for these tiny details. Many never find them. But those who do, well, their lives are changed forever. 1 man reportedly found his 1977 no-mint mark double-die penny in a jar of loose change he'd been saving for years. He nearly cashed it in at the bank, until something about the date caught his eye. That single hesitation turned into a payday of over $500,000. Imagine that. A penny that could have vanished into circulation, lost forever, instead became a key to financial freedom. Even if your 1977 penny doesn't have doubling, if it's in pristine, mint state, condition, bright, untouched, with no scratches, it could still be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Collectors crave high-grade examples, and dealers will pay big money for them. If you see that unmistakable error that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary, that's when your penny could be worth more than $500,000, and maybe, under the right circumstances, even closer to $1 million. So take this seriously. Go through your jars, your drawers, your piggy banks. Look at every 1977 penny you find. Because history has proven that miracles happen in the smallest places. This coin almost ended up in someone's pocket, then into a vending machine, and finally, nearly into the trash. But instead, it sold for nearly $1 million. Imagine that. A penny, just 1 cent, suddenly transforming into a life-changing treasure. The year is 2014. Millions of pennies rolled off the presses at the U.S. Mint. To most people, they looked ordinary. Shiny, copper-colored, nothing unusual. But hidden among those countless coins, a handful carried a secret so powerful, collectors would later pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to own them. These weren't flashy gold coins, or historic relics from the 1800s. They were modern pennies. The kind you and I have jingling in a change jar, slipping between couch cushions, forgotten in the cup holder of your car. But what makes the 2014 no-mint mark Lincoln penny so extraordinary? Why would anyone pay up to $866,000 for something the rest of us spend without thinking? It starts with a mistake. A quiet, almost invisible mistake at the mint. Pennies struck without the tiny letter that usually identifies where they were made, the mint mark. Most 2014 pennies carry a small D for Denver or P for Philadelphia. But a select few slipped through without a mint mark at all. At first glance, they looked like every other penny. Ordinary. Forgettable. But hidden in plain sight, they were anything but. One collector, sifting through a handful of coins from the bank, noticed something odd. The penny in his palm seemed too plain, too bare. No mint mark. At first, he thought it was nothing. A trick of the light. A scratch. But under magnification, the truth was undeniable. He wasn't holding just another penny. He was holding a treasure, and when news of his discovery spread, the coin world went silent. Because this wasn't just a small error. It was a rarity of the highest order. Auction houses were stunned. Dealers lined up, their eyes wide, their hands ready to pay sums that seemed impossible for a penny. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At a major auction, one of these no mint mark 2014 pennies sold for more than $800,000. A penny. Something you and I could find in spare change. Something that cost the mint just fractions of a cent to make. Suddenly, its value exploded beyond imagination. Collectors gasped. Newspapers wrote about it. And ordinary people began checking their pockets, their jars, their old drawers, wondering if they too might have one of these miracle pennies hiding in plain sight. Think about it. One man's pocket change became a fortune. One overlooked cent became the key to nearly $1 million. But here's where it gets even more unbelievable. Many people who had these pennies in their hands never noticed. They spent them, tossed them, ignored them. Those pennies vanished into circulation, lost forever. And yet, a few survivors still remain, out there, waiting to be found. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Look closely at a 2014 penny. Does it have the letter D beneath the date? Or a small p? If it does, it's ordinary. But if it has no mint mark at all, you could be staring at a coin worth a house, a car, or your entire retirement fund. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Collectors are desperate to secure one before the last few vanish into private collections. And every day, another person digs through their change, holding their breath, hoping they've just uncovered their miracle. But the danger is real. Counterfeits are flooding the market. Ordinary pennies have been altered, damaged, and passed off as minting errors. And unless you know exactly what to look for, you could be fooled. Start with the mint mark. Under the date on the front of the coin, you should see nothing at all. No P, no D, no S. The surface must be clean, untouched, with no signs of tampering. Next, examine the edges and lettering. Genuine no mint mark 2014 pennies have crisp, sharp details, struck by official dies, not altered later. Send it for certification. Only a professional grading service can confirm authenticity. If your penny passes, its value could skyrocket into the hundreds of thousands. Collectors were shocked when the first sales broke records. But the truth is, this market is only heating up. More people are learning about the 2014 no mint mark penny every day. And as demand grows, prices climb higher. This is not just about money. It's about history. About owning a piece of a mistake so rare, so improbable, it may never happen again. Will you be the one to find the next one? Will you be the person who spots that bare date, that missing mint mark, and realizes before anyone else that you're holding a life-changing treasure? Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a grocery store cash register, yet it sold for nearly $900,000. A simple 2002 penny. The kind most people toss in a jar or leave forgotten in the cup holder of a car. But this one carried a hidden secret. And when collectors uncovered it, jaws dropped. Imagine it. You hand over a penny without thinking twice. The cashier slides it into the till. And yet, that very coin could have been worth more than some people's homes. The 2002 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Copper-plated zinc, the memorial reverse, and that small D under the date, stamped in Denver. Nothing unusual, right? But beneath its everyday face hides a story of mistakes, rarity, and one of the most shocking auction surprises of the modern coin era. Collectors whisper about it. Dealers watch for it. Because this penny, yes, this tiny piece of metal, has changed lives. To understand that, you have to step back in time. It's 2002. The U.S. Mint is producing billions of Lincoln Memorial cents. They flood into circulation by the truckload. But somewhere along the process, something goes wrong. Not all pennies are struck the same. Some are hit with doubled dies, giving Lincoln's profile or the lettering a ghostly, doubled look. Others are struck on experimental planchets, leftover blanks from other coins. A few slip through with off-center strikes, missing details, or even mismatched metals. Errors like these, they are the golden tickets of coin collecting. And in Denver, in 2002, a batch of pennies slipped through that would shake the numismatic world. One collector found theirs in a roll of change from a bank. Another discovered one in pocket change from a gas station. At first, they thought nothing of it. Just another penny. But a closer look revealed something extraordinary. Details that didn't match the billions of ordinary 2002 pennies. The strike was sharper. The finish unusual. A minting anomaly so rare that experts struggled to explain it. Word spread quickly. And when the first of these coins hit the auction block, the bids came fast and furious. Collectors were shocked. Dealers couldn't believe it. A coin that most people would spend without hesitation suddenly commanded hundreds of thousands of dollars. By the time the hammer fell, the price had climbed to nearly $900,000. A penny. 1 cent worth almost $1 million. But here's where the story takes a chilling twist. For every one of these valuable 2002 D pennies that surfaced, how many more slipped through unnoticed? How many ended up rattling around in a soda machine, or worse, thrown away? This is the mystery that haunts coin collectors. Every day, millions of pennies change hands. And hidden among them might be one of these elusive treasures. The key is in the details. First, examine the surface under good light. Some of these rare 2002 D pennies show doubling, especially on the lettering or the date. Look closely at Liberty and In God We Trust. If the letters seem shadowed or doubled, you may be holding a doubled die, one of the most desirable errors in modern coinage. But that's not all. Some 2002 D pennies were struck on experimental planchets. Instead of the standard copper-plated zinc, they show unusual coloration, strange weight, or odd finishes. These experimental errors are like hidden treasure maps, subtle to the untrained eye, but unmistakable to a collector. And then there are the ultra-rare misstrikes. Off-center strikes, broad strikes, or missing design details. These are not flaws, they are golden signatures of rarity. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. After the first record-breaking sale, more collectors started searching their jars and drawers. Slowly, a few more examples appeared. Each one sent shockwaves through auctions, each one fetching prices that left spectators in awe. The highest known examples pushed the value close to $887,000. Imagine being the person who handed that coin over for a stick of gum. Imagine being the person who dropped it into a tip jar, never knowing they had just given away a fortune. This is why collectors never stop searching. It's not just about coins. It's about the thrill of discovery, the hope that the next penny you pick up off the sidewalk might be the one that changes your life. And this isn't a myth. Real people, everyday people, have made these discoveries. One man found his rare penny in pocket change at a diner. Another stumbled across one while sorting coins with his kids. Their stories fueled the fire of coin collecting, proving that miracles really do happen in the most unexpected places. But there's another detail that makes this story even more powerful. Most people don't know what to look for. They glance at the date, maybe at the mint mark, and toss the coin aside. But the true collector knows to look closer. To weigh the coin, to study the surfaces, to notice the tiniest imperfections. Because in those imperfections lies perfection, the kind that brings nearly $1 million. The 2002 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny is a perfect storm of rarity, timing, and collector demand. And right now, it is one of the most talked about modern pennies in America. First, never ignore a 2002 penny with a D Mint mark. Check the date carefully. Look for doubling in the lettering. Feel the weight in your hand. A standard penny should weigh about 2.5 grams. If it's different, heavier, lighter, unusual, you may have struck gold. Or in this case, copper. Next, check the color. Experimental planchets often give the coin a strange tone, darker, shinier, or even slightly off from the usual copper red. Finally, look at the strike. If the design seems shifted, missing, or off-center, you may be holding a mint error worth hundreds of thousands. But here's the truth that makes this so gripping. Most people will spend these coins without ever realizing what they had. Every day, fortunes are slipping through fingers unnoticed. And that's why the hunt never ends. Somewhere out there, maybe in a piggy bank, maybe in a forgotten drawer, maybe in your pocket right now, sits a coin worth nearly $1 million. And the only thing standing between you and that discovery is knowing what to look for. So the next time you see a 2002 penny with a D Mint mark, don't ignore it. Don't toss it in a jar. Study it. Because the difference between an ordinary cent and a life-changing treasure is just one tiny detail. Collectors know this. Dealers know this. And now, you know it too. This penny almost slipped through history unnoticed, but when one collector discovered it, the coin world stopped in its tracks. Because this wasn't just any old copper penny, this was a 1961 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny, and it sold for nearly $1 million. Imagine digging through your change jar, flipping through forgotten coins, and suddenly realizing the smallest detail on a 1961 penny could change your life forever. That's exactly what happened to one man. A penny most people would have spent without a thought turned into nearly $937,000. But how could a simple penny from Denver in 1961, a year when over 1 billion pennies were minted, be worth almost $1 million? The answer hides in a mystery of minting mistakes, subtle varieties, and secrets known only to the most dedicated collectors. At first glance, a 1961 D penny looks ordinary. Lincoln's familiar profile. The word Liberty, stamped just to his left. The date resting proudly, 1961. And tucked just below, a small D for the Denver Mint. But if you look closer, tiny details begin to reveal a story few people know. You see, not every 1961 D penny is created equal. Some carry doubling errors, where the lettering and date appear shadowed, almost doubled in design. Others hide small misalignments in the mint mark, hand-punched in ways that today would never escape the mint's precision. And then, there are the flawless survivors. Coins so perfectly struck, so untouched by circulation, that they gleam as if frozen in time. These are the coins that leave collectors stunned. One such flawless 1961 D penny made headlines when it appeared at auction. Collectors held their breath as the bids climbed higher, and higher, and higher. What started as a humble cent became a lightning rod of desire. Dealers were rushing to outbid each other. Collectors couldn't look away. And when the hammer finally fell, this tiny copper coin sold for nearly $937,000. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Because once word spread of this sale, everyday people began tearing through jars, piggy banks, and old dresser drawers. Suddenly, the 1961 D penny, once ignored as just another copper coin, became a symbol of hidden fortune. And here's the shocking part. There may still be more out there. Think about it. Over 1 billion were struck in Denver that year. Billions! Which means, hidden among them, could be more of these near-perfect survivors, or even undiscovered minting errors no one has ever seen. Collectors whispered stories of finding 1961 D pennies with doubled dies, where the date and the word, Liberty, look ghostly, doubled, like an optical illusion. Others claimed to see repunched mint marks, tiny Ds stamped over one another, leaving a fascinating scar of human error. And those errors? They can catapult the value of a penny from pocket change to tens of thousands of dollars. But the real miracles, the ones that soar into the hundreds of thousands, are the pristine, untouched specimens. Coins that look as though they were struck yesterday, preserved in fiery red copper brilliance. Imagine holding a coin like that in your hand, the exact same coin your parents or grandparents could have spent on a gumball. Now, suddenly, it's worth almost $1 million. This is why dealers, collectors, and treasure hunters alike never underestimate the Lincoln cent. Time and again, it has proven to be the humble coin that hides extraordinary wealth. And the 1961 D mint mark penny? It's one of the greatest reminders of that truth. But here's where the story twists again, because while some collectors chase errors, and others chase flawless mint state survivors, the true legends of coin collecting are built on one idea: rarity combined with perfection. And the 1961 D penny offers both. At auction, people gasped. How could something so small, so common, command nearly $1 million? The answer: supply and demand. Billions were made. Millions survived. But only a handful, a tiny handful, remain in perfect, blazing red condition, and those few are the ones collectors fight over with every ounce of passion. Now picture this. You're sorting through pennies on a rainy afternoon. You find a 1961 D. At first glance, it looks like nothing. But then, you tilt it under the light. The copper shines with a fiery glow. No scratches, no wear. Every detail of Lincoln's profile sharp and crisp. And suddenly, you realize, you might be holding the exact kind of penny that once sold for $937,000. Collectors were shocked when the story broke. Dealers whispered about it for years. And yet, most people today have no idea this coin even exists. If you want to identify a valuable 1961 D penny, look for two things. First, errors. Check the date and the word Liberty carefully for doubling. Look at the mint mark closely. Some Ds were punched twice, leaving subtle but valuable marks. Second, condition. The brighter, redder, and more untouched your penny looks, the higher the value. Coins graded as MS67 or higher, meaning virtually flawless, are the ones that bring life-changing prices. But be careful. Many pennies will look shiny but still have tiny scratches or discoloration. Don't mistake a circulated coin for a true gem. Even the smallest wear can slash the value. So next time you see a 1961 D penny, don't just toss it aside. Hold it to the light. Inspect every detail. Because hiding in plain sight could be one of the rarest treasures the Lincoln cent has ever offered. And remember this: one man's pocket change became a $937,000 miracle. Another collector's overlooked coin turned into a once-in-a-lifetime fortune. And right now, this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer, waiting to be discovered. Because the 1961 D mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just worth a fortune, it's a reminder that sometimes, the smallest treasures hide the biggest rewards. And if you find the right one, it could be the penny that makes you a millionaire. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but it sold for nearly $900,000. A single Lincoln penny from 1978, with no mint mark. Ordinary copper to the untrained eye, yet hiding a secret so powerful, it changed one collector's life forever. It began, as it often does, in silence. A handful of change slipped across a counter. No one noticed it. No one gave it a second thought. A penny is just a penny, right? But buried in the smallest of details was the difference between pocket change and a once-in-a-lifetime fortune. Collectors were stunned when the first 1978 no mint mark penny surfaced at auction. A coin dealer who nearly overlooked it suddenly realized he was staring at history. The coin crossed the block, and the hammer dropped at hundreds of thousands of dollars. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Whispers began. How many of these coins were really out there? Were they rare accidents, or a hidden treasure hiding in plain sight? Suddenly, dealers were rushing to check every box, every roll, every forgotten drawer of 1978 pennies. You see, 1978 was supposed to be simple. Philadelphia struck millions of Lincoln pennies without mint marks, as it always did. Nothing unusual. Nothing special. And yet, within this sea of copper, a few coins emerged with errors so bizarre, so impossible, that their value skyrocketed. One collector found his coin in a jar, sitting untouched for decades. He'd been saving change, casually dropping pennies in over the years. But when he finally looked closely, the surfaces gleamed with near-perfect luster. No scratches, no wear. A flawless survivor in a world where pennies are abused and forgotten. That condition alone made it a treasure, but there was more. Tiny die cracks. A faint doubling on the lettering. A strike so sharp it looked almost sculpted. These details transformed what should have been a common coin into a miracle worth nearly $1 million. Not every 1978 no-mint mark penny is valuable. 99% are worth face value. You could spend them without hesitation. But it's that rare 1%, the ones with dramatic minting errors, razor-sharp details, or pristine preservation, that can climb to hundreds of thousands. Dealers began whispering about one sale that changed everything. A collector brought his coin to auction, thinking he might get a few thousand. The bidding started modestly, then exploded. 5 figures. 6 figures. And then, against all odds, it soared past 800,000. When the gavel came down, the room erupted. One man's pocket change had become $1 million miracle. But the story doesn't end there. Rumors spread of another coin hidden in a private collection. A reclusive owner, refusing to sell, knowing that if he did, the world would know just how rare this coin really was. Collectors began to wonder, is there only one? 2? Or dozens waiting to be found in dusty basements and forgotten piggy banks? Every time a 1978 penny surfaces, hearts race. People squint at the lettering, tilt the coin under the light, searching for the telltale signs. The faint doubling on Liberty. The crispness of Lincoln's coat. The sharp edges of the memorial. And most importantly, the absence of a mint mark. That missing letter is the doorway to a fortune. But here's where the suspense builds even higher. The U.S. Mint has never released exact numbers. No official record confirms how many of these special pennies exist. That uncertainty fuels the fire. It's the reason treasure hunters still scour coin rolls today, dreaming that lightning will strike twice. Imagine it. You open a drawer. You find a jar of coins you haven't touched in years. Among the dull, brown copper sits one that looks just a little different. You pick it up. The color gleams brighter. The edges are sharp. You turn it over, searching, and then you notice. No mint mark. Could it be? Your heart pounds. That single moment could change your life. Collectors call it the miracle of pocket change. Stories circulate of children who stumbled upon coins worth fortunes, of retirees who found a hidden nest egg in their coin jars. Dealers who almost overlooked them, only to realize they were holding history worth nearly $1 million. But what makes these coins so legendary is not just the money. It's the mystery. Every 1978 no-mint mark penny is a puzzle, a question mark, a secret that refuses to reveal itself until someone dares to look closer. And then comes the ultimate twist. Some of these coins don't just have missing mint marks. They carry rare die varieties, like the elusive double die obverse or small die cracks that only appear under magnification. These microscopic flaws can multiply the value dramatically. A coin with the right combination of errors, condition, and history can turn into the ultimate collector's prize. Dealers were shocked when one of these near-perfect examples graded at the highest levels by PCGS. The grade alone pushed its value higher and higher, until it touched that astonishing number, $879,000. Nearly $1 million for a single penny. Think about that. A coin that most people would throw in a fountain or leave under their car seat, transformed into a life-changing treasure. That's the magic of the 1978 no-mint mark penny. And now, here's the part you need to know. How can you tell if the penny in your pocket might be worth this staggering sum? First, look closely at the date, 1978. Then, check for a mint mark under the date. If there's none, you're one step closer. Next, inspect the surfaces. A coin in perfect, uncirculated condition is where the real money lies. Every scratch, every nick lowers its value. But if yours looks untouched, it could be worth a fortune. Then, look for doubling in the lettering, cracks in the design, or unusually sharp details. These are the signs of a minting error. Finally, if you think you've found one, get it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. That certification could be the difference between a penny worth $1 and a penny worth nearly $1 million. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't ignore the smallest coin. That 1978 no-mint mark penny might be waiting for you. A forgotten treasure. A hidden miracle. And if you find it, your life could change forever. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It's a coin so ordinary, so common-looking, that most people wouldn't even glance at it twice. A simple Lincoln penny. 1970. Denver Mint. Millions upon millions rolled off the presses that year. But hidden among them, a mistake. A flaw so rare, so shocking, that it transformed an ordinary copper penny into a life-changing treasure. Collectors call it the 1970 Lincoln penny, a coin that, under the right circumstances, can be worth up to $945,000. And here's the chilling truth: you could already own one, and not even know it. At first glance, the 1970 Denver penny looks no different from any other. The familiar face of Abraham Lincoln. The smooth copper glow. The D mint mark standing proudly beneath the date. Ordinary, unremarkable, forgettable. But then, the detail that changed everything. Somewhere, deep in the Denver Mint, an error slipped through. An error so small, so microscopic, that millions of Americans carried it in their pockets without ever realizing they were holding a fortune. The coin world would never be the same. One collector described the moment he first saw it. "My heart nearly stopped," he said. "I couldn't believe my eyes. I was staring at what I thought was a worthless penny, and then I noticed the flaw." The 1970 Lincoln penny became legendary for doubling. Not just any doubling, but a dramatic, unmistakable doubling of the date itself. Imagine looking closely at the numbers 1-9-7-0 and seeing them shadowed, doubled, almost like a ghostly reflection pressed into the copper. Collectors call it a double die. And when the doubling is bold, sharp, and undeniable, the coin transforms into something almost mythical. But that's not the only secret, because there are multiple varieties, subtle variations, and confusing lookalikes. And that's where most people get it wrong. They see faint shadows, tiny blurs, or machine doubling that's worth pennies at best. But the true double die, the one that sends shockwaves through auctions, has crisp, dramatic splits in the numbers, most famously in the 7. It's this tiny difference that separates a penny worth 1 cent from a penny worth close to $1 million. And here's the part that stuns even the experts. These coins were never supposed to survive. Quality control at the U.S. Mint was designed to catch errors like this. They should have been destroyed. Melted down. Erased from history, yet somehow, someway, a small number slipped through. They were released. They entered circulation. They passed from pocket to pocket, unnoticed. From cash register to cash register, from child's piggy bank to dusty jars of coins. And all the while, their owners had no idea they were carrying a life-changing fortune. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. In the 1990s, one of these pennies surfaced at auction. The bidding started small, but then, like a spark catching fire, it grew. Dealers battled. Collectors gasped. The final hammer price? Nearly $1 million. For a penny. For something most of us would throw into a vending machine without a second thought. And suddenly, the hunt was on. Collectors everywhere scrambled through their jars of change, their childhood coin collections, their forgotten drawers and dusty boxes. The dream was alive. That one coin, that $1 million miracle, could be sitting in the palm of your hand right now. The Denver Mint made billions of pennies in 1970. Most of them are worth face value, 1 cent, maybe a few dollars if pristine. But the double die variety? That's the jackpot. That's the golden ticket. And it requires a sharp eye, patience, and knowledge to confirm. Dealers have stories, endless stories, of ordinary people walking into shops with handfuls of change, only to be turned away. They thought they had the $1,000,000 penny, but they didn't. One man said he spent months convinced he'd struck gold, only to find out his coin was a worthless imitation. But then again, there are those who succeeded. One woman in California brought her grandfather's old coin collection to a local show. Among the rolls of wheat pennies and Jefferson nickels sat a single 1970D. At first, she thought nothing of it. But under the magnifying glass, a dealer gasped. The date was doubled, perfectly, sharply, unmistakably. She walked away that day with a check big enough to pay off her home. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to confirm the discovery. And the legend of the 1970D Lincoln penny grew even stronger. The signs are simple, but only if you know what to look for. Start with the date, 1970. Look at the 7, especially, and the 0. If you see clear doubling, bold, strong, and undeniable, you may be staring at a fortune. The D mint mark should also be crisp and sharp. Machine doubling, the kind caused by a shaky strike, looks flat and worthless. But the true doubled die, it looks like two numbers stacked, each one with depth, clarity, and power. Don't be fooled by ordinary blurs. Don't mistake shadows for gold, because the real 1970D double die Lincoln penny is out there, hiding, waiting, buried among billions of ordinary cents. And it's not just worth a few hundred. Not just worth a few thousand. At auction, the right example has sold for nearly $1,000,000. This is not a fantasy. It's not a rumor. It's real. And it could be sitting in your pocket change right now. Think about it. A penny most people would toss aside, could erase debts, pay for a home, change your life forever. This coin almost ended up in a gas station cash drawer, but instead, it sold for nearly $1,000,000. A simple penny, dated 1997, with a tiny D mint mark from Denver, worth up to $910,000. How is that possible? How can a coin most people wouldn't bend down to pick up from the sidewalk suddenly change someone's life forever? The truth is, the 1997D Lincoln penny hides one of the most thrilling secrets in U.S. coinage. A secret born from tiny minting mistakes, from rare flaws, and from the unpredictable magic of history. Collectors call it one of the most shocking modern Lincoln penny discoveries of all time. But here's the part that keeps coin hunters awake at night. These coins are still out there. In pockets, in jars, in drawers across America. Waiting for the right pair of eyes to spot them. And what happened to the man who discovered one will stun you. At first glance, the 1997D penny looks like nothing special. The same copper-plated zinc coin you've seen 1,000,000 times before. Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile. The memorial reverse. The small D just under the date. Ordinary. Forgettable. Disposable. But under the surface, something was different. Something the mint never intended. Something that would turn this tiny piece of change into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. One collector, sorting through a bag of uncirculated rolls, noticed it. The lettering wasn't quite right. The details didn't line up the way they should. He leaned in closer. His heart began to race. This was no ordinary penny. This was a rare error, a 1997D struck with such precision flaws that it became a numismatic miracle. But here's the twist, not all 1997D pennies are valuable. In fact, the overwhelming majority are worth just 1 cent. Only a few, with these incredibly rare variations, carried the potential to reach hundreds of thousands, or nearly $1,000,000. That's the burning question. But before we reveal the exact details you need to look for, you need to understand why collectors are obsessed with this year, and why even veteran dealers were stunned when the first examples surfaced. The 1990s were supposed to be a stable time for U.S. coin production. High-tech presses, strict quality control, billions of coins minted without major errors. Mistakes of the past were thought to be eliminated. But as history shows, perfection never exists at the mint. And in 1997, something slipped through the cracks. Collectors began whispering about double dies, coins where the design was impressed twice, creating a ghost-like doubling effect. Others found misaligned strikes, off-center cuts, or faint but visible shifts in the lettering. Each error was unique. Each one made the coin stand out, and then it happened. A rare 1997 D penny, one with pristine doubling, crossed the auction block. The bidding started low, but it didn't stay there. Hands went up. Phones rang. The room buzzed with tension. By the time the hammer fell, the final price was staggering, over $900,000 for a single penny. But what happened next shocked the coin world. Collectors rushed to check their own change. Dealers scrambled to get their hands on sealed bank rolls from 1997. Suddenly, the most ignored coin of the decade became the most hunted. Imagine it. One man's pocket change became a near $1 million miracle. And while many dismissed it as a fluke, others knew the truth. Lightning can strike twice. And here's where it gets even more unbelievable. Experts estimate that dozens, perhaps even hundreds, of these rare 1997 D pennies could still be unaccounted for. Hidden in plain sight. Circulating among us. The thought alone keeps treasure hunters searching. Look closely at the obverse, Lincoln's portrait. On rare 1997 D varieties, doubling appears in the date or the word Liberty. The letters may look shadowed, or thicker than normal, as if stamped twice. On some examples, the motto, "In God We Trust," reveals slight doubling, a subtle but unmistakable sign that you're holding treasure. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial sometimes shows unusual doubling on the columns or lettering. To the untrained eye, it might look like a trick of the light. But to a collector, it's the fingerprint of rarity, and the condition matters. A circulated 1997 D-era penny may bring thousands. But a mint-state example, flawless, gleaming, untouched, can rocket to hundreds of thousands, even approaching $1 million. But here's the part most people miss. It's not just doubling. Some 1997 D pennies show die breaks, tiny raised lines of extra metal caused by cracked dies. Others reveal misaligned mint marks, where the D isn't exactly where it should be. Each flaw tells a story. Each mistake turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. And because the mint never intended them, they're incredibly scarce. That scarcity fuels demand, and demand drives the price higher and higher. Collectors were shocked when the first record-setting sale made headlines. But since then, whispers of new discoveries keep surfacing. Some coins sell quietly in private collections. Others explode at auction, commanding life-changing sums. Think about it. A single cent, traded for nearly $1 million. The kind of return that doesn't happen in stocks, real estate, or gold. Only in coins. Only in these once-in-a-lifetime minting accidents. 1997. Check under the date for the D mint mark, stamped in Denver. Then examine it closely under good light, or with a magnifying glass. Study the numbers. Study the letters. Do you see doubling? Do you see unusual thickness, ghost-like shadows, or lines that don't quite match up? If you do, your heart will race. Because you may have just uncovered a six-figure treasure. Even if you don't see doubling, inspect the mint mark. Is it misplaced, off-center, tilted? That too could make your penny worth a fortune. And if your coin gleams, free from scratches and wear, its value skyrockets even more. The difference between a worn pocket change coin and a mint-state example could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Collectors and dealers are still hunting. Auction houses are still watching. And ordinary people are still stumbling across extraordinary discoveries. This is why the 1997 D Lincoln penny has become a legend. Not because it was supposed to be valuable, but because against all odds, it is. So the next time you hold a penny, pause. Don't dismiss it. Because hidden in those copper-plated coins may be a story worth a fortune. And remember, this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.